Hello and welcome back to the Mercedes-Benz Virtual GP 2020 season. We're back for round 7 of the season and the first race in the IndyCars. And to make things interesting, they'll be competing at the classic Grand Prix circuit of Silverstone. My name is Justin Sutton and I am joined by Chris Buxton.
We return to my homeland this time, the home of British motorsport. A lovely circuit it is as well. Here is the driver's standings then. A very comfortable lead by Mr. Kovacic, but can he continue that momentum in the new car? That's going to be the big thing we're going to be looking for. Vizzy and Stefanko 2 and 3 representing Benzina very, very well. And Kujela 4, so big amount of points up top. But yeah, everybody is still fighting someone with the exception of Mr. Kovacic up top. But look at this, look how closely fought we still are at the halfway stage. From 11th down to 20th, from Pavel Rygel down to Jan Sikra. There is so much still to fight for, and our drivers really need to keep pushing. And let's hope that the new car, as I'm sure it will give us some amazing racing.
In the Team's Championship, it is Logitech leading the way. No surprise there with their drivers doing so well in the Drivers' Championship. 232 points, the only team to break 200, but Benzina not that far behind on 189, 49 points ahead of Thrustmaster, and then it's quite close in the midfield. So that's how things are looking heading into today's race. So let's have a quick look at the car that we are going to be using, and it is a very different sort of beast compared to what we've seen previously with VGP. It is, of course, the Dallara IndyCar from 2018, 735 kilos, 700 horsepower, almost 1 horsepower per kilogram. It's a 2.2-liter V6 twin turbo, and it is making 410 Newton meters of torque, a top speed of 233 miles an hour. A very different sort of challenge for our drivers, Chris.
Oh, just a tad. I mean, 233 miles an hour, 375 kilometers an hour. That's a lot of horses to be having to deal with. 700 horsepower, as you've already said, Justin, in a very light package. So they have got to really moderate the throttle, as these things are going to be lively. And, you know, them being open-wheeler, they're not going to take the kind of battering that the GT3 cars are used to, but that's all in the name of racing. This thing is going to be fabulous.
I'm really looking forward to it because, as I said, it's a different sort of challenge compared to what the drivers have tackled previously. We're just having a quick look through at all the teams and how their cars are going to be looking for the second half of this 2020 Mercedes-Benz Virtual GP season. But yeah, it's very different. So we started, of course, with the AMG GT3, which is a car that the drivers would have been familiar with in Assetto Corsa. So there was that kind of crossover. You know, we may have changed from Assetto Corsa to iRacing, but it was the same car previously. Whereas now, this is still in iRacing, of course, as was the first half of the season. However, this is in a car that they're completely unfamiliar with.
And equally, GT3 cars are pretty much in every kind of racing sim. Indy cars, very much less so. You know, less popular racing series. Not to criticize it at all, is an incredible series to get involved with. But these cars need a much more honed, very different skill set to a GT3 car. Not saying GT3s are easy, but these are certainly... It's much like riding a real-life horse to a bucking bronco. You know, you might have similar skills, but these things are going to be so difficult to control if you just try and jump in and drive it like a GT3 car. Moderation of that right foot is going to be crucial in these amazing... They look stunning as well in their liveries. Look absolutely incredible.
I was going to say, they're going to be a handful for the drivers, but one thing is for sure, these cars look incredible.
Yeah,
loving the paintwork. All the teams have done a great job.
Homeward bound for me then, it is Silverstone, and we are going at it at midday. So 5.8 kilometers, 3.6 miles of very twisty testing circuit, and 37 degrees track temperature. That is quite high, so the drivers are going to have to deal with that.
And it is Simon Kovacic who takes pole position for Logitech, a 137.6 and 0.4 of a second quicker than the next driver. Unbelievable. I mean, we did suspect that this might happen, but I think ourselves and the viewers at home were maybe hoping that things would get shaken up a little bit more. But that is how the 10 drivers will be lining up for today's race. Matej Korny bringing up the rear, but it is the Logitech of Kovacic who leads the way once again for what will be a very different sort of race, and potentially we may see some issues because, again, this is very different. Of course, these guys would have been putting in lots and lots of practice as we prepare to go racing here from Silverstone, one of the greatest racing circuits in the world. We are green, and it looks like a great start for the Logitech. Oh, but the Benzina car with a terrible launch is losing positions hand over fist. It's going to be dropping right down into, looks like 7th position, 8th position, 7th position in the end. Oh, who's off there? Oh, I think that was the TP-Link, if I'm not mistaken. TP-Link off the circuit. Yep, that is in fact the TP-Link car that's gone off just at the exit of turn 1 there. But otherwise, it looks like a pretty clean getaway. I'm not seeing any dented wings or anything like that. So everybody is continuing as they were. A bit of an issue there for the Benzina and the TP-Link at the start, but everybody still has all 4 wheels on the car.
Yeah, that was a bit of a cautious getaway from the Benzina car. That's what's causing the drop. But Pastor's taken the lead in the Lenovo Legion car. Well, well, well. We have a real challenger to Kovacic. Just look at this. Pastor is really pulling away. It was a lovely exit from Luffield that's given him a bit of breathing space. So, have we finally found a chink in the armour of Kovacic? A little bit early to say. We're going to be here for an hour. Let's not get away with it. But look at that, down to 6th for Eric Vizzi. He's been so strong in that GT3 car. But what we saw, he just was too cautious. As the light went out, as the first gear was engaged, the car just bogged down, whereas everyone else around him just got that wheel spin really, really nicely done. And that just catapulted him backwards down the field. As we see Corny in the E6 car being challenged by the big shot car on the inside. Okay, yeah, nicely done. I did wonder whether that was going to come together. Now into Vale, careful on the brakes. These things don't have driver aids, so again, this is why I was saying they have to be very, very careful with how they put, how much pressure they put on that right foot, because it's 700 horsepower in something that weighs as much as a towel. So they've got to be very careful, and we've already seen how that's come unstuck. Oh, that's the USEC car that's gone out of shape. Can Horror capitalise on it? It's going to be on the outside for the first right-hander. Not going to work. Although Benzina, can you do anything about it? No, Eric Vizzi's bounced off the curbs. There's another crucial difference. Well, not that there's a lot of similarities between these and the GT3 cars, but other than the fact that they have Mercedes engines in them, that's about it. As looks like Vukulchik has had to go into the pits. That's a great shame. Oh, now that's brave on the inside of Brooklands. Nicely done. He's going to be strung around the outside of Luffield. Can he get it done? Oh, nice work, Eric Vizzi. I think it was possibly a little cautious there from Horror in the big shot car, but what a great move on the outside of Luffield to reclaim 5th position. Eric Vizzi means business.
A wheel to wheel through Brooklands. Absolutely fantastic stuff. And here is that start. So let's go on board with Pastor. There you can see it, actually. There was a little bit of a wiggle from Kovacic. We kind of missed out on it with everything that was going on. We were so focused on what was happening, and with this being our first race with the new IndyCars, I think we were just a little bit surprised. We were a little bit caught out. But at the moment, Daniel Pastor still leading the way in that Lenovo Legion car. So it was a bit of a fluke incident for Kovacic. That wheel spin, I think, was it shifting up into 2nd potentially, or just giving it a little bit too much throttle while still in 1st? We can only hypothesize on that one. But yeah, he just picked up a little bit of wheel spin on that run down towards the 1st corner. Pastor didn't, and he got that inside line as well. He's taken the lead, and he's held on to that lead now for a couple of laps. So again, it seems to me, anyway, that he took the lead just through that incident through Kovacic, but he's maintained this lead purely by being quick. So Daniel Pastor possibly just a little bit more consistent, potentially, with this car. We're having a look at Simon Kovacic at the bottom right. We can see him working the wheel and doing his best to try and catch up to Daniel Pastor. We can see the push-to-pass being utilized there. You can see that at the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. These cars do have the arrow screens as well, too. Thankfully, our drivers aren't in any danger of anything. But, of course, just for maximum realism, they do have the windscreens and all that kind of stuff. So Kovacic nicely there through Luffield, though, the very long right-hander, one of those corners that just feels like it goes on. And look at that. He's close right up to the back of the Lenovo Legion car as they get down into the right-hander of Copps. He's not going to be able to make an overtake into the S section, into Maggots and Beckett, so he's going to have to hang behind for the meantime. And let's see if Daniel Pastor can try to build that gap a little bit. He's going to have a little bit of dirty air coming off him. But of course, that's another key difference between the GT3s that we've already seen this season and these Indy cars is the dirty air effect and that sort of stuff. And let's see if he can get him once again on the run down towards Stowe. Pastor moves to the inside line, defends that inside line into Stowe, and once again maintains that position. It seems that he is just placing that car inch perfect and at exactly the right times to defend this position, which is working out great, by the way, for Pichota. Oh my God, 3 wide into the braking zone, and that is going to be the Benzina of Vizzy that comes out on top through all of that, and that's going to move him up into 4th position, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, that is up into 4th, and that is one of the good parts about him having that bad start. Oh, but here we go, Big Chuck and ESET side by side through turn 1 at over 250 kph. The ESET car of Cordy comes out on top. Oh man, we are seeing actually some incredible racing here today.
I don't think I have ever seen 3 cars wide at Vale, even on a parade lap or anything. That is insane. But there was no impact as well. I was really impressed with how well those 3 drivers held out that particular 3-wide maneuver. But yeah, coming back to what you're saying about Daniel Pastor, he is holding that on merit. Also, David Pichota is not far behind. He's less than a second behind Kovacic. Do not lose sight of that Thrustmaster car. He will easily get involved in that particular battle, as we are on board with Jorge in the Big Shot car, who's part of that amazing 3-wide we saw. So, they caught up once before, and I'm sure he will catch up again. There's now a little bit spread out between himself, Thomas Gorney, and Eric Vizzy in the ESET and Benzina Orlan cars. Coming back to the push to pass, that is another fundamental difference between these and the GT3s. It essentially is... it's a boost of power that goes to the rear wheels. It's interesting we were seeing, as we're now looking at Matejia, this will be the incident that sent him off. Oh, now the tail got loose on him. So yeah. I'm not sure if there was impact there. I think the tail was loose completely on his own. That again is just unfamiliarity, or less familiarity I should say, with the car. A little bit too much on the right foot. Could perhaps have shifted at a little bit of a wrong moment. Either way, that sent him off the field, but he did recover from that fairly quickly. And still in the race well and truly. A bit of a pack forming actually behind where we're currently looking as Jorge is closing on Corny, and voila, this is the pack I was just talking about. Behind the TP Link car of Matejia is the second Corny and Kovacic. So there's a great scrap for what is essentially wooden spoon avoidance. They're all wanting to try and stay away from that 10th position, but that's a wonderful scrap there, and they're not all that far off the back of the leader. Again, Kovacic was getting very, very close to Pastor, as we're now on board with. So Pastor is doing a great job, and he's defending in exactly the right way. You touched on this earlier, Justin. Daniel Pastor is putting his car exactly where it needs to be. He's not defending fresh air. He's not making any wild moves. That was a little bit too deep for Kovacic. He had to back out of that, and that's cost him a couple of tenths as we can now come into Maggots and Beckett's. But Kovacic is trying to do Kovacic things, but tell you what, Daniel Pastor really has the measure of these IndyCars at the moment. As we now, there's that wonderful webcam shot, we can see straight into Kovacic's ear, but we can see how well he's working there. He's working the steering wheel, as Vukulchik is now using his push to pass. Kovacic was actually using it in the braking zone, which I'm not convinced is the right way of doing things, as Corny and Jorge is now having another argument as they come through Stowe down towards Vale, and once again Jorge is we're seeing a lovely switchback from Thomas Corny. Oh no! I really sympathise with Thomas Corny, and I have done that same thing in sim racing terms so many times. You're really keen to get on the power, but it's such a slow part of the circuit, or slowest part of the circuit, and these things have got so much torque that the rear tyres just look at you and laugh, basically, as you just tried to floor it. But there's... top to bottom, we're not facing that big a gap. It looks like Kovacic in the Autoscope Nova car has fallen a little bit off the back of the pack he was in. We're not seeing a colossal gap that we've seen in the GT3s, so this is fantastic. I'm loving every second of this.
Yeah, battles bookending the grid. We got battles at the front, battles at the back, and as we've been saying, there you can see actually David Pichota just in the background there, just in the back of shot in that Thrustmaster car. Here goes Kovacic once again with a great run down towards Copse. He does get a great run through Luffield, catches that slipstream, and just gains ground all the way down towards Copse. Let's see if he can actually, and then, I don't know if this is a setup difference, but really, it seems to be that he just doesn't quite have the top speed on the hanger straight. So I don't know if he's just carrying more speed through left field. Oh, here we go with the TP link going side by side with the deck spin of Vokulchik, going around the outside actually at the entrance of Maggots and Beckett's. I don't think Vokulchik wanted to fight that too much. I think he may have backed out of that, lifted off the throttle ever so slightly, possibly just recognizing that Mateja just that little bit quicker. But I think what we've seen with these kind of spins and half spins and quarter spins and all that kind of stuff is the change of direction, the viciousness of the change of direction that you get here at Silverstone. The first of which you're going to see here in turn 1. So you have this high speed right-hander of turn 1. It's immediately followed by a left-hander. So you have that change of direction from turning right into turning left. It's the same sort of thing coming into Vale. You know, it's a left-hander and then all of a sudden going straight into a right-hander. And then you've got the S's as well. You've got Brooklyn's as well, where you're turning left and then you're turning right into left field as well. So it's just a lot of change of direction at Silverstone, and I think maybe that's just what's catching these guys out. That and the inexperience in the cars. Again, we did touch on that. You know, these guys would have done lots and lots of practice for this. They will have many hours behind the wheel of this Dallara IndyCar in iRacing to prepare for this event, and indeed the rest of the events that we have in the 2020 Mercedes-Benz Virtual GP season. But of course, you know, they get more and more knowledge as they go. This is going to be a really nerdy reference, but in Dragon Ball Z, the Saiyans get stronger after each fight. It's the same way with these racing drivers. You know, they learn something new every time. They get that little bit stronger, that little bit more confident every time they go out there and turn some laps in anger. And you know, we're just seeing the early stages of these guys getting to grips with these cars. But clearly, 3 drivers that have really gotten to grips very quickly are Pastor, Kovacic, and Pachada. I don't think Kovacic would really be breaking away right now if he were in the lead. He does not seem to have a massive pace difference compared to the Lenovo Legion ahead of him. Here we go with the ESET and TP Link cars once again. Mateja will have the outside line heading into Stowe. He's that little bit later on the brakes. This will give him the inside line as well, heading into Vale, but he does it cleanly around the outside. That is an absolutely beautiful move. And I have to say, the quality of overtakes we're seeing today, Chris, are just absolutely incredible. Silverstone is really putting on a show for us.
Lucas Mateja, that was very, very nice. Outside of Stowe. Yeah, if you've got the speed and the confidence, absolutely go for it, and that's precisely what he's done. One other thing I've noticed is, I've been keeping an eye on the push-to-pass amount, which you can see doesn't look like Mateja's actually used any, or hasn't used any in a while. He still has 10. But when we were looking at Daniel Pastor earlier, he only had 3 left. Well, there you go. So both cars we're looking at now, I'm wondering whether they're not using them. Because they just seem to be at 10. Well, no, they must have done, because they do start with more than that. So they're just being very, very cautious with the uses of the push-to-pass. It is a limited amount of uses. Doesn't matter. You can use them as many times as you like, up to a given amount. Sorry, you can use it where you like, as many times you like. What am I saying? Here. So, you know, Daniel Pastor only has 3 left. Kovacic has 9 left.
Make that 2.
Now 2. So he's been using, you know, his push to pass to defend, but he's used them very early in the race. We still have another 47 minutes to go, and Kovacic has done a great job of being very frugal with the uses of the push to pass to keep pace with Pastor. So this could bite Daniel Pastor in the tail end before too long. We will see. Here he has proven that something about Lenovo and defensive drivers. I think we might have made that point before. But, you know, we've seen that he really does know how to defend in these cars. But you also touched on, Justin, that, you know, how quickly they can just throw these cars in. Yeah, they can. These may be Indy cars by design, but yeah, in the high downforce setups, wow, do they generate an obscene amount of downforce. So Abbey, near enough flat if you've got the setup right and the line right. Farm, which is turn 2, absolutely flat. Aintree, which is turn 5, where we've just seen a horror come through. Yeah, that's absolutely flat. Brooklands, well, no, you'll never do that with flat. You'll come down a couple of gears for that. Yeah, Luffield, as we're just going to come into, very tricky corner. Oh, okay, we've now jumped back on board with Kovacic, so we've just come through Copse, which is flat. It looks much tighter than you think, but it is actually flat if you get the entry right. Now coming through Maggots and Beckett's, it feels like you're scrubbing off speed forever. Pick your moment well to get through Chapel, that final turn before coming onto the hanger straight. And then sprint on down towards Stowe. Pick your moment, try and find your line, which Kovacic, again, you mentioned the dirty air effect as well, Justin. That is definitely going to be affecting him through those turns. But Daniel Pastor cannot shake the Logitech car of Kovacic. And that's going to be playing on his mind. He knows, Pastor will know how many push-to-pass he's used. He probably doesn't know how many Kovacic has used. But he will certainly realise that later on when Kovacic could essentially just dump the lot and fly past it. But we will see. This really could go anywhere.
I have a feeling Pastor knows that Kovacic hasn't used many, if
Probably.
any, indeed at all. Yeah, I have a feeling that that's what he's assuming. But he didn't use any on that previous lap, so he's still at 2. You can see it doesn't look like he's going to be using it here, because of course that's something you're going to be using relatively early on the straight. You don't want to be deploying it at the end of the straight. I know we did see, we saw a graphic pop up saying that somebody was using it kind of at the end of the straight, but I think there might be a slight delay on that potentially, which could explain why it looks a little bit funny. But yeah, essentially, it's something you want to be using right as you're coming out of chapel onto the hangar straight, or right as you're coming out of club actually onto the start-finish straight, or coming out of Aintree. Those are the ideal places to be using it, so that's really where I would expect the drivers to be using it the most. Once again, Daniel Pastor, though, not using any so far in this lap, has managed to actually hold on to that gap. I wonder if we're going to see Kovacic using a push-to-pass here. Pastor is not deploying his push-to-pass. A couple of car lengths as they get into the braking zone for Stowe, so neither of them is going to be deploying any push-to-pass at this particular time. And there goes the Lenovo Legion of Daniel Pastor into the pits with 43 and a half minutes remaining in this 1 hour race, and he is going to be followed by the Thrustmaster of David Pajada, who is also was starting to fall off there. I don't know if you noticed that, Chris, but I was noticing he was just starting to fall off. The gap was a couple of seconds, nearing 3 seconds, I believe, towards the end of that stint. But you can see this has triggered a lot of pit stops, actually. Eric Vizzi in the Benzina car, Thomas Hora in the Big Shot car, Mateja, Koreny, Vakulchek, all of these guys coming in. The only one who stayed out so far is Kovacic. I think Kovarik is just getting into the pits now, and if Koreny is coming into the pits, we will find out about that very soon. And there he goes, in fact. So every single driver has come into the pits at the same time, except for Simon Kovacic, Chris, which, considering how well he's done this season, that makes me wonder if he knows something that they don't.
Yeah, he's used 2 push-to-passes in this lap alone. He's now down to 7.
Well spotted.
So that's why he wanted to do the contra strategy to Daniel Pastor. So I'm not surprised he didn't follow him in. I reckon Kovacic, he's clocked that Pastor hasn't used too many push-to-passes. So now he's just going to absolutely floor it and hope he doesn't get a speeding penalty in the pit. Does happen. I've seen it occur. And it's horrible because you sat there for 10 seconds and waiting for the penalty to serve. So Kovacic is now just going to drive the wheels off of that car. I wouldn't be surprised if he swings in now. Yes, he does. So those 2 push-to-passes he's used on that lap alone has also gotten him the fastest lap. 39.2 was a 39.4, I think, his best before that, or 39.5, something like that. He's now got the best of the race. So, but is it enough? That's going to be the big question. And Pastor probably will anticipate this, but again, he only had a couple of push-to-passes left. So, now only one left. He's used one to try and get back up to speed. This is going to be close.
That could end up being a net gain for him, though, since he only used 1 push-to-pass on his out lap, and Kovacic used 2 on his in lap. So that would put him more in the black when it comes to push-to-pass usage. And here is Kovacic, and I think actually he is going to come out rather comfortably ahead there. He is, yes, by a few car lengths. Now remember, Pastor carrying more speed though, so he does close up as they get into the next right-hander, so he's going to be right behind him. He's got 1 more push-to-pass still remaining. His tires are also going to be up to temperature, so if he can pull side by side with Simon Kovacic here, he's got a real shot here at trying to retake the lead of this race. But but you can guarantee, I could guarantee pretty much that Kovacic will have used push-to-pass there on the run down the Wellington Straight down towards Brooklands. He's going to be holding a very tight line through Luffield as well, just to protect from any sort of antics that the Lenovo Legion driver might be thinking about there. And I think, again, we're seeing Kovacic using some more of that push-to-pass, really just to sort of defend that position, just to say, nope, don't even think about it on the run down towards Copse here. I don't think Pastor was going to think about it. I think what he wants to do here is he wants to see how he's going to handle the S's compared to Kovacic, because he has been, I would say, more often than not, quicker through the S's compared to Kovacic. And look at the way he's closing up to the Logitech car. But then look at that, Kovacic much better at the exit, which is really what you want, because of course you're going to be full throttle all the way down towards Stowe here. We don't have any information. I don't know if Kovacic used push to pass as he came out of Chapel here, but he is unsurprisingly holding on to the fastest lap of the race as it stands right now. And Pastor is hanging on to that final push to pass, Chris. I have a feeling that he is holding on to see if he can close back up and actually use it to make a move, because if he uses it right here, right now, all it's going to do is reduce the gap.
We will see. I think you're right. I think Daniel Pastor is probably ruining using so many so early. I think he would have liked to have a few more in his pocket for this phase. However, you know, he could well just reel that gap in of his own accord. We will see. We are now watching Kostalik in the TP League car versus Sirotek in the ESET car. These two have been pretty much scrapping all race long for their respective positions. This is the battle for 7th at the moment. Kostalik only 3.5 seconds behind Kovarik in the Autoscutter. Wow, Kovarik has gained well. Bear in mind, everybody came into the pits with the exception of Kovacic on the same lap. Kovarik has really gained out of that, because he was last. Okay, there has been a few mistakes in the field, but Kovarik, it's good to see the Autosco Lenovo car. They really have struggled, the Autosco Lenovo drivers. So it's good to see, you know, a real solid midfield position at the moment. Still some way to go, I grant you.
There we go. There's the push to passes.
Yeah, and yeah, Kovacic has used another 2 since Pastor has come out. So that's why that gap is saying is he just Kostalik. He's either forgotten, and Blazek as well in the mogul car. I think they've forgotten to bind a key to use their push to pass, because there's still either that or they are just going to go for a banzai right to the end, which they can absolutely do. There's nothing stopping them doing that. Bearing in mind that you know, the driver swap is going on. That's why there's only 10 cars on track at the moment. So the mogul car now in the hands of Michael Blazek. But yeah, it could be that they're saving their push to passes for the other driver. That's a thought.
That's a good thought.
Hadn't anticipated, but you know, we will see. You know, a lot of people still haven't done their driver swaps.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that all shakes out. Speaking of Blazek, actually, in the mogul car, he's just making his way around the final corner. Having a look at Senol now behind the wheel of the Dexfin car, which is now down in 9th position. Oh, here we go with Kostulik and the TP Link in the TP Link. Kostulik in the TP Link, getting very, very close there as they're coming to the end of the lap as well. But yeah, something has definitely happened to the mogul car, quite a ways off now, not in any danger just yet of being lapped, as the laps are more than 90 seconds, 90 to 100 seconds, 95 to 100 seconds, something like that. So he's not in any danger right away, but we are nearing the halfway points of this race, 14 laps in, 36 minutes and 50 seconds still to go. And again, still having our eye on Kostulik versus Sirotek. Oh, just running a little bit wide there. Sirotek hugging that inside line a little bit better. Through Aintree they go. He'll be picking up the slipstream here. Are we going to see any push-to-pass usage from Kostulik, who we're on board with now, looking backwards at the ESET car of Sirotek, who gets that inside line through Brooklands, but it's not always the best to go through the inside there, because then you get the outside line through Luffield, and it's so difficult. No! Oh, no! Oh, no. Yeah, and that was definitely an issue, I think, for Kostulik getting bumped. That was definitely not Kostulik's fault. He didn't do that all on his own. He had a little bit of a helping hand from Sirotek in the ESET car, I think, who unfortunately didn't hang around to wait for Kostulik. No. So I think that might be a penalty incoming.
Yeah, that was a little bit impatient there from Martin Sirotek in the ESET car. I mean, it happens to the best of them. When you're following someone, especially Luffield is one of these seemingly never-ending corners as well. You've had a good run, but the guy in front of you hasn't. You've got to be patient. There's plenty of other places to try and pass at Silverstone. Making a pass at Luffield is near impossible at the best of times, and so Sirotek decided to go through his opponent, and he's now got the Dexfin car joining him of Stanislav Senol. So the battle for 7th wages on. It's just waging on with 2 different combatants this time. Up front, Kovacic now has a 2.5 second lead over Pastel, so I reckon he's used several more of those push to pass, or Daniel Pastel has made a mistake somewhere. The field has it's taken about half the race for the field to spread out. I was actually expecting the field spread to happen earlier than this, just because of the difference in the difference in the feel of the car and what have you. On board with Daniel Pastor as he's sweeping through Stowe, still chasing that ever disappearing Kovacic. I think we've said that once or twice in this season, but pressing on nonetheless is still going to be, even finishing there, is going to be a great result for Daniel Pastor.
38.3 last lap for Simon Kovacic. That is an absolutely rapid lap. Really, really impressive stuff. Still in the car from the first stint. So this is the second stint for Simon Kovacic. Have yet to see Peter Kujela, but maybe that was the plan. Was for Kovacic to take over, lead the way, and to just try to build that gap. And then once Kujela hops in the car, just try to maintain that gap, because there is, of course, that element of strategy that is involved in these races. We've got a replay here. Let's see what's been going on here. And this is the replay with Sirotek. You can see this is, again, he got that inside line for Brooklands, but it's so difficult to go around the outside here. And you can see, is he just trying to go for that gap was never really there, to be honest. I think that was optimistic on his part, but thankfully we're not in charge of divvying out any sort of penalties or anything like that. Oh, and there is Kovacic setting the fastest lap with the 38.3 that I mentioned earlier. So it's officially a fast lap. It's no longer just my opinion that is a fast lap. It is officially a very quick lap. Having a look at Senol once again, who is still right on the back of the ESET car of Sirotek up ahead. He's just about within 1 second, not quite within striking distance, but he's within striking distance of striking distance, I guess you could say.
Yeah, there's fast, there's very fast, and there's Kovacic fast. As he's building that gap without any use of push to pass, it seems now nearly 4 seconds, so now Kovacic is doing Kovacic things and running off into the distance, but we continue to look at Senor as he is staring at the back of the ESET car. Oops! That's what happens when you get cops wrong. You go for a bit of an explore, but there's no gravel out there anymore. It is just all concrete, so you can sweep back onto the track as long as you're not impeding anybody else. There was actually
Is it an off track? Does it count as an off-track incident?
It would be it would, yes. When you're that far off the track, yes.
I would hope so.
There's a couple of ways you can get away with it. I mean, for instance, coming out of Luffield, there's a little cut you can do coming through Woodcote where the old start finish straight is. That one doesn't incur a penalty. But when you're that far off of cops, yes.
Let's see if the Thrustmaster will show it off for us. There it is.
There, yeah, that's the one that's allowed. You don't really gain anything by doing that. So coming through is David Pujada. Just about is when you start going over the green AstroTurf that you start to get in a bit of danger. But then you don't want to be going that far out. Marcus and Beckett's fairly self-explanatory. If you're wandering onto the grass, then you are doing it wrong, and it's going to spin you anyway. So it's not something you want to be doing. So David Pujada's had a pretty solid race. What is he, 1.6 behind Daniel Pastor, still with a healthy amount of push to passes left in the Thrustmaster car. Wow, there's a battle forming for 6th. Sirotek and Senol have caught Kovarik. So there's a great battle forming for that midfield spot. We'll see how good Kovarik is at defending his recently acquired 6th position. As David Pujada continues to mind his own business. Mind you, he's doing 39.2, so that's still a very impressive lap time. Here is Eric Vizzi, 39.4 his last lap, so that's again a pretty good lap time. I think I'm right in saying Kovarik is the only one into the 38. Here is that battle for 6th position. Kovarik in the Autoscola Nobe car. All gets a little bit squiggly coming through Beckett's. Well, coming out of Beckett's into Maggots. Other way around, beg your pardon. I should know that by now. Siratek is looking like he's going to shape up, moving the outside of Stowe. Kovarik doing a great job of defending. Whoa, last of the late breakers from Kovarik. Nicely done. He's still going to try and part the waves. They're still side by side coming into that. We've seen 3 wide already here today, but no, now it's
lovely.
Well defended, so Kovarik kept his head. Wow. Oh, nice move by Senol. Trying to get through, trying to nip through on the inside of Siratek, and did not happen. But there was a great drive there from Peter Kovarik. He kept his head. He could easily have panicked and, given up is the wrong phrase, but assumed the position done when Siratek got past him, and Senol gets on the inside, coming through the loop. Can he get the drive he needs? It looks like he can. Yes, he does. That's 7th. 7th position for the Dexfin car. Brilliantly driven. That's given Peter Kovarik a tiny bit of breathing space. Well, it didn't last long, but it was a little bit of respite. Oh, lock up though. Bit hard coming into... Yeah, I thought Senor was on push to pass. He seemed to really close in on Peter Kovarik, and that's dragged Siratek with him. And now Peter Kovarik has got a lot of pressure from Senor. Oh, well, okay. Get the move done before you get to Cop. Sweeps round, doesn't quite... Oh, wow.
My God.
That's a little bit cheeky from the ESA car. Martin Siratek rather pushing his luck a little bit with the track limits, but he got the move done. Maybe a few words said about that. It was a tad unorthodox. But, wow, that was brilliantly done.
What a scrap. I mean, that was just absolutely incredible. And I mean, this is actually bringing Kostulik. Yeah, Kostulik is starting to close in on this as well, too. Okay, and there goes the Autoscola Nobe. I was wondering if maybe some tire issues, flat spots, something along those lines is where we are actually past the halfway point of this race. So the Autoscola Nobe is going to be the first to come in for a second pit stop, but what an absolutely incredible scrap that was. That was some of the best battling I have ever seen in VGP and sim racing and racing at all. I mean, really, really impressive stuff, I have to say. Really just, I couldn't tell you what was going to happen next, who was going to go where. Yeah, that was really unpredictable stuff. Speaking of which, I have to say, I am very excited to see what is going to happen when Martin Stefanko takes over this car. I wonder if Benzina have done the opposite route of Logitech, and I wonder if they've saved their fast driver for later. Now, I'm not going to go out and say that that's definitely what they've done, because there have been plenty of points in this season where Eric Vizzi has in fact been the stronger of the two Benzina drivers. Now they are very, very level. So when I say stronger, you know, we're talking minutia between the pair of them.
More talking experience than raw pace.
Exactly.
As Jan Sikora takes over that lovely Autoscola Nobe car. Yeah, I mean, yeah, we're talking more experience than just raw fast.
Right, exactly. It's minor things between the two of them, and I do wonder if this is going to be one of those races where, in fact, Martin Stefanko is the slightly quicker of the two drivers. Now, with a 21-second gap to Kovacic, I don't know that the Benzina car is going to be able to overhaul that kind of gap. Just having a look to remind ourselves the kind of gap that Kovacic and indeed the Logitech team are enjoying at the moment, and it is quite substantial. But yeah, I do wonder if in fact Stefanko is going to be the quicker of the two Benzina drivers and may in fact close that gap down. And in fact, like I said, it's 21 seconds to the leader. It's also 12 seconds just to the next car, and it's not like the Thrustmaster brothers have been at all slow during the course of this season, or indeed any season. So you know, as strong as Martin Stefanko is as a driver and as strong as Benzina are as a team, I just don't know if they're actually going to be able to elevate themselves outside of that fourth place position. So, but we're going to find out very soon. It seems that Sikora coming in for Autoscola Nobe has triggered some other pit stops. Indeed, the entirety of the top four are coming in. We've got Kovacic, Pastor, Prachada, and Vizzi all into the pits. I expect we're probably going to see some driver changes here. Particularly, we might see that at Benzina and potentially Big Shock.
Yeah, I think anyone that hasn't served a driver change needs to do it now, as otherwise there are rules about minimum time for both drivers. And wow, that's a long way down the pit lane that the Benzina rule on cars got to go. So Kovacic, has Kovacic come back out? Is he still in the Logitech car?
He is.
Ah, interesting. Now there's a face we recognise. There is Mr. Stefanko. He's taking over the Benzina Orlan car. Pavel Reigl has got the Lenovo Legion car now.
And so Lucas Pichata in the Thrustmaster.
Of course, Stepanovsky takes the Big Shock. Siritek, was he already in the E-set?
Yes, he was. Yeah, he was in the E-set.
So, and also Kostalik in the TBD car. There is Martin Stefanko. He's growing some facial fungus on there, look.
I approve.
So, yeah, but yours is mighty.
Well, he's got a number of years to go before he can grow something like I think I was darn near 30 before I could actually grow anything of substance.
I just have a small bush going on. I've got enough for nesting animals to be in, but that's about it. Now, interesting that Kovacic
still going.
Yeah, but he's 30 seconds. I wonder if he didn't stop.
Oh,
he definitely
like
came
a
in the
drive-through.
pits. Essentially, yeah.
Oh, have they made a mistake? Maybe.
I wonder whether there's been some kind of technical trouble that's meant he hasn't been able to change driver. Because he was only 5 seconds or so ahead of the Lenovo Legion car, was he not?
Yeah, no, that's correct. That is correct.
Yeah, he was something like that, wasn't he?
Yeah, a handful of seconds.
Yeah, he was only about 5-6 seconds ahead of
and he was
Daniel
definitely
Pastor.
in the pits. You're not wrong about that. I definitely saw the Logitech car in the pits sometime in the last 5 minutes.
Interesting. We'll see how that one pans out. He's mysteriously gained 30 seconds. But if he's got to come in and do his driver swap, as we suspect, that's going to put him quite some way down the field. Interesting. We'll see how that one develops. If that was the case, why didn't he come in last time? Very odd circumstances going on, but
yes.
Now Senol in the Dexfin cars come in. He's going to be no, has Vukovic already been in it?
Yes, yeah, he was in earlier, but yeah, I think he's due.
Yeah, so that's a planned stop for them for the Dexfin car. Yeah, curious then what's going on with Kovacic. We will see. We will see how that one pans out. But look at Reigl and Lucas Pichata. They are getting close.
yes, that is actually very, very close. Yeah, it seems that possibly Lucas Pichata having a little bit more pace than Pavel Reigl, or potentially just finding some extra time in the pit stops. And there is the Dexfin re-emerging in 8th position. That is going to be ahead of the mogul of Blazek, who has, of course, been struggling. The mogul car has been struggling so far in this race, and the Dexfin will indeed hold on to that 8th place position. There is Stepanovsky in 5th position. That's just coming out of left field, if my eyes do not deceive me. Yep, that is indeed just coming out of left field. And holding on to a top 5 in the top half of the grid as it stands right now. So that would be fantastic for the Big Shock team. It's been a bit of an up and down season for Big Shock. They've definitely had standout moments, standout races, I think, is fair in saying. So certainly there's a lot of potential in that Big Shock team, who are, of course, struggling with, or, you know, it's a very different sort of season for them without Michael Schmidl. Of course, going from Michael Schmidl to literally any other driver would be quite an adjustment. So that's not to discount their drivers whatsoever. Rather, in fact, I think their drivers have been doing a fantastic job for Big Shock, actually, because those are some big shoes to fill over there.
Oh, aren't they? Oh, but Lucas Pichata is reeling in Pavel Reigl. These two have crossed swords before, and they're going to do so again. The first time we've seen these two fighting in the IndyCars. Stefanko, what is he, 11 seconds behind this particular battle, so 21 minutes, 11 seconds? Oh, it could, I guess, if they I think Pichata and Reigl are going to have to really hold each other up for Stefanko to get involved in this fight, but we know
I think
it's
more than a second a lap, if I'm not mistaken, that Stefanko would have to close in, and yeah, I don't see that happening.
Well, you could lose a second a lap through fighting, but they'd have to be constantly punch and counterpunch. They're not in that position at the moment. So, we will see. But Lucas Brachada, I reckon, is really sizing up Pavel Weigl as we weave our way through Magnus and Beckett, out through Chapel, onto the hangar straight once again. So, yeah, there's going to be a scrap for that second position.
He's on the push-to-pass as well. He used it right as he was getting on the throttle as well, coming out onto Chapel, really. Because, I mean, Chapel is more than full throttle. It's full throttle and quite forgiving as well too. So yeah, it's like full throttle with a nice barrier as well too. So you can really go full throttle. So yeah, he was getting onto the push to pass really as he was coming out of Beckett's even before he coming into Chapel. Oh, and this is the battle for the final or for last place, or just ahead of last place, I should say, as Sikora has closed up to the back of Michael Blazek, who is having a difficult day, no doubt about it. Certainly, we're used to seeing Michael Blazek. There's a time where it would have been him up there in battling for that second place position, or rather, he would be the one in second place defending from Pavel Weigl and Lucas Brachada. But yeah, unfortunately for him, he is now battling with that Autoscola Nobe for 9th position. But we still have lots of races still to go in this IndyCar. Up at the front, though, it is Lucas Brachada right behind Pavel Weigl. Is this going to be the moment? I don't think he's going to get him into Copse here. Has he used another push-to-pass? Yes, he has. So Lucas Brachada actively using push-to-passes here. And I'll tell you what, I noticed the push-to-passes are changing. So either they're unique for the driver or they get refilled after each pit stop, Chris.
I would imagine they're unique to the driver then. I did wonder whether it was 10 per race, but it would seem to be 10 per driver. So that takes the pressure off of the first driver to save some in reserve for the second driver. But Jan Sikora and Michael Blazek. Michael Blazek, that's an easy pass to make then. Good to see. We've commented before that's how difficult he is to pass. But we will see how that one plans out, as again Lucas Brachada, as we mentioned, still chasing Pavel Weigl, a bit closer than he was last time, last lap. So Lucas was 2/10 quicker than Pavel Weigl last time around. Bearing in mind that Logitech car still has to come in to make their drivers. Oops, Brachada getting a little greedy on the accelerator there. You saw he has to turn right into a left-hander. But he caught it very, very early, and the slide was very slight, so he wouldn't have lost a great deal as he comes into Brooklands. Really getting close to Pavel Weigl now. We can pretty much see the details of the diffuser of the car ahead of him now as they come out of Luffield, flat out through Woodcut, down towards Copse. We've seen passing going on down there already today, but yeah, Lucas is and there is Kovacic. Now this is going to be interesting because I think that car's been through the pits once too many times, but we will see. This, Kovacic could well still come out with. I think the pit lane loss is more than 36 seconds. I confess I haven't actually been looking at what the Kovacic, what the pit lane loss is. But I think that Logitech car is going to lose its lead, so that's going to be interesting for who's going to take it. That was Peter Kujala that's taken that one over.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what's going to happen here. I would expect Kujala to take over, and yeah, I think it's it must be 75%. I actually don't have the rule book in front of me. I do apologize.
Minimum 25% per driver. So yeah, that is correct. Yeah, I had it as 25 minutes in my head. That's why I was a little surprised earlier. Oh, but Lucas, that's close. He's saying it's 25%. So no, he has done that correct. That is a legal, driver change that's gone on there. Nicely done. Sweeps through on the inside of Abbey and takes over what is now the lead, because this, that Logitech car is going to lose a lot of time because it went through the pits when I don't think it needed to. So, and there it is. There is Peter Kujala coming out in 4th position. So Stefenko, he's actually going to see the pole. Yeah, that steady with the right foot and push the pass straight away. You're a little eager on that one. If you hit push the pass out of the pit lane, you've got some slow corners ahead of you. There's a little bit of a waste, but with just over 16 minutes of the race remaining, Lucas Brachada of Thrustmaster. Well. I couldn't tell you last time we had a Thrustmaster car up at the top step, or potentially top step of the podium. I'm not expecting anybody else to be in.
Was it Hanzik? Was Hanzik the last time we saw a Thrustmaster at the front?
Wow, could well be. Yaroslav Hanzik. That's at least 2 seasons ago.
We always miss. We always miss Hanzik. Yeah, what a character, fantastic guy.
Absolutely.
We still keep up with what he's doing, obviously, outside of VGP and stuff. Wish him the best of luck. I will say here, Chris, I've been monitoring. Pavel Reigl has not been using his push-to-pass, not even after Pachada made the overtake. I think last I saw, he still had 10 push-to-pass remaining. Now, to my mind anyway, push-to-pass is best used here at Silverstone, coming out of left field, because you're full throttle all the way down towards Copse, and coming out of Maggots and Beckett's, because you're full throttle all the way down towards Stowe. Which means you, at most, want to be using the push-to-pass twice per lap. If it's a minute and a half per lap, and there's 15 minutes remaining, then that means you've got about 10 laps remaining, so you could use it once per lap right now, as it stands. So, I don't know. I think some people are holding on to these push-to-passes too much. I think Lucas Pachada actually has the right kind of usage. Yeah, look, Pavel Reigl is still at 10. He is now losing time to Lucas Pachada, and he just refuses to use his push-to-passes. I don't agree with that call. I think he really needs to get on it and start using these push-to-passes, because otherwise he's going to end up in a situation where he's using it, coming out of Abbey to try and get an overtake into Village, and that's not ideal. That is not the ideal way to use push-to-pass. You really want to be making the most of that extra boost of speed that you have available, not just to make overtakes, but also to reduce lap times. So I really think Pavel Reigl really needs to get a move on here. Like, he really should be using a push-to-pass right here. Hasn't used it, hasn't touched it one bit, and he just continues to fall back out off of Lucas Pachada. Now, maybe there's some sort of problem. Maybe it's not counting them correctly. We can only guess. So maybe I'm wrong about this, but at the moment, I think he's being way too conservative about it. And I think a driver like Lucas Pachada is using it in the exact right way, using it once per lap, maybe twice per lap, rather than trying to save it all up right for the end or something like that. It's very interesting to see the different strategies we're seeing here. Now, Shevchenko has moved up into a podium position thanks to that Logitech coming into the pits. It is currently a 16-second gap between himself and Peter Kujela in that Logitech car down in 4th position. And what is the gap between himself and Reigl? It is now 5 seconds. So that has indeed come down quite a bit, lapping a 138.8, just under a 138.9 last lap for the Benzina Orland car. So Shevchenko is looking strong out there. He's got 7 push-to-passes as well, so he's being a little on the conservative side, but at the same time he's still got some remaining. So certainly something that we're going to be keeping our eye on. I don't think Kujela is catching, just from the gaps that I'm monitoring now. I think Shevchenko is looking pretty solid in that 3rd place position. Can he catch up to Pavel Reigl? We'll find out.
It's right on the pace that he needs. He needs a little more, I think, to guarantee that he'll get there. Yeah, it is close, but Shevchenko is really pushing hard. But also, I was looking at the lap time difference between Pachada and Kujela and Reigl a lap or so ago when we were looking at their push-to-pass usage, and Pachada was nearly a full second quicker than Pavel Reigl at the point he took the lead. So, that really demonstrates how effective the push-to-pass can be if used in the right areas. You're absolutely right in where best to use them. On the exit of left field, as long as you control the throttle properly. Maggots and Beckett's, it's slightly less effective because you carry more speed through Maggots and Beckett's than you do through left field. But yeah, on the exit of the loop, if you get the run through Aintree right, heading down to Brooklands, areas like that where you're on the gas for a substantial number of seconds. Like you say, you wouldn't bother using through Abbey, through turn 1, because you're already at full crank. Out Stowe, you wouldn't bother because you're then hitting the brakes into Vale. So, yeah, effective use of the push-to-pass is making a very big difference. And look at that, Lucas Pachada is now 2 seconds ahead of Pavel Reigl. Here we're looking at Kujela trying to do what he can with the Logitech car, but he's not getting... but he hasn't used push-to-pass either, curiously.
No.
Sadly, it's rather undone. This race has undone itself for the Logitech team. So, but it has to be said, that's probably the first mistake we've seen from the Logitech drivers
So I think I've been trying to figure out what's been going on with these pit stops. I think it's maybe a 3-stop race, but it's not equal distances. I'm not 100% clear on it, but I think Thrustmaster, Lenovo, Benzina, a lot of these teams might have to stop one more time for a splash and dash, and I think that might be what happened with Logitech earlier. Was they were taking their splash and dash early with their fast driver rather than having Kujela do it and, you know, run 40% distance. So I think essentially, you know, the stint is 30%. But if you add up 30% stints, you're left with a little 10% stint that needs to be filled in there. Yeah. And I think that might be what's happening. Now, just for all the viewers, just so that you guys understand why we don't fully know, it's because we don't have insider information. You know, we don't have the drivers coming to us and telling us beforehand, oh, you know, this is the way I'm planning to stop, or our team is planning to stop in the case of today's race, since it has driver swaps. You know, we don't have any sort of advanced notice about what to expect. I mean, we have a little bit of information, you know, about how big the tank is, you know, how many laps you can go on a tank of fuel, about how long the tires will last, all of that kind of stuff. But yeah, we don't know what the teams are going to do in terms of strategy. So we end up doing quite a lot of hypothesizing. Long-term viewers of VGP will already know this, but for anybody that's new, just filling you in that we do quite a lot of hypothesizing, and I think that might be what's happening here. Now, one thing that we don't have to hypothesize, though, is now that gap between Lenovo Legion and Benzina, because that is now getting, there is the Benzina Orlin of Martin Stefanko really has closed the gap to Pavel Rigel. Similarly, Lucas Pichota and the Thrustmaster building that gap. So I don't think there's enough time for Stefanko to even think about closing up to Lucas Pichota. At the same time, I think we are... Oh, is that cars in the pits? That is cars into the pits. So I was right. There is a little splash and dash here. So it's not over for Logitech. But I will say, Kujela has not been lapping as quickly as the top 3 were prior to coming in just now. So I'm very interested to see how this is going to shake out.
This could be very, very close between the top 4. I was also beginning to wonder whether Pavel Rigel was running a bit close to the iRacing incident limit. It might be why he was backing off a little bit. Bear in mind that iRacing runs an incident limit system, and if you exceed it, you're instantly disqualified. There's no appeals, there's no time penalties, bang, you're out. And Kujela has completely defied exactly what I was talking about, and back into the lead. Lucas Pichota comes back out in second. Nicely done, but where is Rigel against Stefanko? And who's that ahead of Kujela? Is that Blazek? It's Blazek.
It is.
It's the mogul car. So, now then, I mean, Blazek will get out of the way if he's getting a lap. Of course he will, you know. But they could just put Kujela off, and he was not lapping as quick as certainly we've seen from that Logitech car. But equally, he was not lapping as quick as the 3 behind him. So 7 minutes to go. Well, it's going to be about 5-ish laps. Oh, it's not done yet. And Stefanko is staring at the podium again because he's been reading in Pavel Rigel. Oh, yes, we're game for a great finish, I think.
Yep, this is going to be a good one. I am dying to know the gap has not updated between Kujela and Pichota. I know it's not that close because we've actually, you know, we've seen with our eyeballs what the gap is visually, and I've just seen them flash by through Maggots and Beckett's there. So it is not a tiny gap by any measure. I think Stefanko overtaking Rigel is certainly the more pressing overtake. And there he goes for the inside line heading into Stowe, but Pavel Rigel is going to have that covered off. Let's see if he's going to get the exit that he needs into Stowe. Is he going to find the inside line into this next left-hander? No, he doesn't. He's not quite late enough onto the brakes. He's still got 6.5 minutes remaining in this race, does Martin Stefanko. And again, I don't think he's actually going to be close enough to even think about putting a move on the Thrustmaster or the Logitech cars. And now we can see it is 5.6 seconds. So it is actually the gap that you mentioned earlier on, Chris. You said it was about 5 seconds. And after all all that racing, all those pit stops, we're right back to where it was. But the only difference is now that the Logitech has the not quite as quick driver in their car. I don't want to say slow driver. Peter Kujala is not a slow driver. He's fourth in the standings for a reason. But he is not quite as quick, so we'll see what can happen here. But now Martin Stefanko in the Benzina around the outside on Brooklyn. This will give him the inside line for Luffield, and that is a fairly comprehensive overtake from the Benzina driver. Martin Stefanko moves himself up into third position ahead of Pavel Reigl. He's got 5 push-to-passes still remaining. As we look a little bit further back to Sirotech in the ESET car, he's only got 1 push-to-pass remaining and 5.5 minutes remaining in this race. He's staring at the back wing of that big shot car of Stepanovsky, who is still, after all of this racing, still holding on to that Type 5 finish, but he's got 2 cars. 2 cars behind him. I thought Blazek was involved in that for just a moment, but he's got 2 cars behind him that want to try and remove that top 5 finish for Stepanovsky in the big shot car. So he's going to have an exciting 5 minutes, I think.
I thought that was going to be a big shunt from Sirotech under the back of Stepanovsky, so did you. Good one. But yeah, that's a great scrap, isn't it, that's going to go on to the end. Lucas Brachada has taken about 1.2 out of the lead. I wonder whether Kujala is going to be able to hold it, because Lucas Brachada is going, as much as Kujala is using his push to pass to try and defend his position. Lucas Brachada is still flying, but he has not got many laps to close that gap down. True. Oh, that was a little bit deep from Sirotech there. That's compromised his line through Magnus and Beckett's. There is Lucas Brachada.
2 seconds. 2 seconds last lap he pulled in.
Has he got enough laps to do it? He does.
I think he does.
I think he does. That's going to go down to the line. If Lucas Brachada can maintain that 38.6, good Lord, that's inhumane. If he can maintain that pace, like you say, Kujala isn't slow, but he's the slower of the 2 Logitech drivers. And
he still doesn't use push to pass. Is it broken? I wonder if Kujala didn't.
I think. That's incorrect, because you can see on the overlay at the top he's using it. It's just that banner at the bottom.
Okay, that makes way more sense.
One of the 2 is wrong, so he's either just... I mean, equally, that could be why Lucas Brachada is closing in on him pretty quick if Kujala wasn't using them. Either way, we don't know. I think we are going to go down to potentially a loss. Oh no! That's the TP-Link car and the ESET cars that's come together. Kostalik and Sirotech. That looked like Kostalik got into the back of Sirotech. We didn't quite see how that one appeared. Hopefully we'll get a replay of that one. But that's a shame. It is indeed down in Brooklands. That's a shame. That was such a great 3-way scrap that was forming, but that has taken the pressure completely off of Stepanovsky, who at the moment is going to score. I think that's probably going to be the best result for Big Shot we've seen all season, and that's on merit. That's not down. He was already ahead of the incident, he hasn't gained through. Well, everybody has gained positions through other people's misadventures, but Stepanovsky had got there on merit. He was defending from the 2 behind, so fair play to Stefanovsky and the Big Shot team. Less than 2 seconds now between Brachada and Kujala, and we still have 2 to go. It's 2.5 minutes until the checkered flag falls, and it's, as we can see, it's it's about 1 minute 40 per lap. He could do it. Lucas Brachada could do it.
He's finding tenths per corner. I mean, I saw it go from 1.8 to 1.6 through Brooklands alone, down to 1.5 after Luffield as well, down to 1.4 just through Woodcote in the old start-finish straight. He's found another tenth through there. And yeah, he's finding tenths through high. Oh yeah, and that's going to be the end of a difficult day for the ESET car as he brings that car into the pits. And that, I imagine he's going to drop ESET down to last, which is a perfect example of why you don't give in, because it looks like Autoscola Nobe and Mogul are both going to be picking up some additional points thanks to that incident. I don't know if we're going to get a replay of that. We might have to wait until the next race so we can get a replay of that in our pre-show to cover that. But yeah, you know, I did notice on the lap prior that the 3 of them got so close into Brooklands to crashing, because it's one of those corners where you take such different lines. You know, you can take that early apex, but you got to slam on the brakes quite hard. You can take a later apex and run a little bit wide, but you're going to be carrying more speed, and you might run the risk of running into the back of somebody. And it's such a high-speed corner as well, too. You're getting that dirty air effect, and there's just, I saw a big lockup on the lap just before that incident happened, and I thought in my mind, and the viewers, feel free to go back and look. You can rewind and look. I swear, I saw the biggest lockup, I think, from the outside wheel of the middle car. Oh, God, here we go for the win of the race.
That's for the lead.
Oh,
and we're
yes.
on the final lap as well. The checkered flag is going to fall before they get back to the start finish line. Really, realistically, steady Pachada. Oh, is he going to make a move in the cops? I've seen it already. He's going to go for it, push the passes, enabled suddenly for the Thrustmaster car. He's drawn alongside. Whoa! And Kojela tried to turn in, but he couldn't. The Thrustmaster car was there. Oh, it's a lead change for Lucas Pachada. And there's Stefanko. My goodness me, he could take the second spot.
Incredible stuff through Maggots and Beckett's. Yeah, I really want to be focusing on Stefanko here. What a story that would be if he was able to claw Benzina into a second place position after all of this. Indeed, the checker flag is going to be coming out this lap, so this is really his final attempt. He's not going to be close enough. He's out of push to passes. He's going to close right up to the back of the Logitech car through Stowe, but unfortunately, it is not going to be enough. Is he going to try it up the inside? He goes around the outside on the... Oh, they make contact between the two of them. He tries to find the inside line as well, but I think Peter Kujela is just about going to hold him off, but it is Lucas Pachada that wins in the Thrustmaster car, the first race in the IndyCar here at Silverstone. What a fantastic story for Thrustmaster. They've been competitive all season long, and now they get that win that they deserve. Stepanovsky is going to come home in that 5th place position, but not if Senol doesn't have something to say about it. I've just noticed the Dexfin car right behind the Big Shot car. Is the Big Shot car going rather slowly? I wonder if he's got a fuel issue. He's going to stay very far to the right-hand side, really defend that inside line coming into Stowe. It doesn't look like he's going to be close enough. He's going to try it around the outside. Big Shock holding that inside line. Let it run a little bit out wide. Stay to the left-hand side of the circuit now. Cover off that inside line. See, the Dexfin's going to try to go around the outside and try and do what Martin Stefanko couldn't do. Can't quite do it, though. Stepanovsky in the Big Shot car is going to get that top 5 finish. Dexfin as well with a fantastic result in 6th, you have to say, is a great day for Big Shock. It's a great day for Dexfin. It's a great day for Thrustmaster above everybody else. Wow.
And there it is then, the podium results. The Pachada brothers taking the top spot on merit on the final lap as well. Logitech coming home in 2nd. Just over a 10th. Logitech managed to beat Benzina. It's barely a car length or so. Lenovo Legion, a great result there, 4th. Big Shock, an excellent 5th place. Well done to them. Dexfin takes 6th. TP-Link 7, EZ8, Autoscolo number 9, and Mogul rounds out the positions.
Absolutely fantastic in the Drivers' Championship. This is how things are looking now. Kovacic leading the way. Eric Vizzi in 2nd. Martin Stefanko in 3rd. Lucas Pachada in 4th. So looking very similar to the way it was before, except Lucas Pachada is now only 2 points behind Martin Stefanko, and Peter Gugela only a further 2 points behind him, actually. So very, very close in that part. And we can see, again, still very, very close. Only 28 points separating 11th from 20th. Wow. So yeah, it is extremely close. As you look a little bit further down in the Teams Championship, Logitech would have built that gap a little bit to Benzina after finishing ahead of them, but Thrustmaster, of course, were the big winners. What an incredible day of racing. Big thank you to all of the drivers, everybody at the VGP team. Chris Buxton for joining myself, Justin Sutton. We hope to see you guys at the next race for the next round of the 2020 Mercedes-Benz Virtual GP. Good night.